doesn't take a lot. Like it's just small gestures to show like we're friends. Like I care about you. Like, this is not just business.
What do you do to sort of develop those relationships with your factories, with your suppliers?
Yeah, so that's a good question, right? So I'll give you actually a little bit about like how good my relationship is, at least with my manufacturer, right? I get like 7 day like lead times. I've had emergency like 3 day production runs. So the way that I get and people are always like, man, like you have like such an amazing cash flow cycle, but I think the reason that I'm able to get like such good terms is it's really like a human relationship. So like the same relationship between you guys, both of you, like you've developed that relationship over time. I'm sure you talk and you're nice. You say, how's your day? This, when it's each other's birthdays, you say happy birthday. So it's almost the same thing, right? At the end of the day, like we're all people. We're all people. Like my business doesn't define who I am. This guy's manufacturing facility or his job doesn't define who he is. At the core, they're just a person. And if you met that person in the street and you wanted to become a friend of that person, how do you go about that? And that's how I go about like building those relationships. I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna have to maybe spend with that person a certain amount of money before they're like, okay, we get it. But let me tell you this: you will, like, most rules like are bendable. Like especially like a manufacturing facility can come tell you like, oh, it's 6 week lead time. But if you understand, and for me, that's where I'm very blessed to have like my manufacturing background. I understand the manufacturing and the times, and so I know that it takes 1 day. It's like a 1 day manufacturing cycle. So knowing that, I know that, okay, I don't need 6 weeks. 6 weeks is just me being put in a queue. So if it was like if I owned a manufacturing facility and it was my sister who came to me and said, Mina, I really need this. Yeah, I'll give it to her in a couple of days, right? Because she's my sister. So with that logic, how can I do that with with a manufacturing facility? So step number one is, okay, I understand the ability, like what's possible, right? And I know if you don't understand your exact like manufacturing process, I highly recommend you do. Just go, dive deep, whether you have to travel or whatever. Understand every single part, so okay, here's the limitations, and here's actually like if you own the facility, how long would it actually take, and say, okay, so it takes like 3 days. So my goal is like, let's get to 14 days. And then let's develop that relationship with the person where the rules become so bendable that, they'll kind of sneak you in to the front of the line because they really like you. And everyone does that. Like all of us here are definitely like, if you're busy or whatever, and your significant other comes and asks you for something, you will put them in the front of the line. And that's how it works. That's how humans work. And so birthdays, I'm always like the first to call, hey, happy birthday, da da da. I'm regularly, like every week, I know their kids' names, I know their significant others' names, like husbands, wives. I know everything. I know what events are happening. I send them like, so for example, like if they're like, let's say Muslim, which one of my manufacturers is, when they have like all their like Muslim holidays, hey, I call them, I send them like a little gift basket. So it's like those things where it's like, man, like this person is so thoughtful. He constantly thinks about me, and it doesn't take a lot. Like it's just small gestures to show like we're friends. Like I care about you. Like, this is not just business. And once you develop that personal relationship, and a lot of times just picking up the phone, how's it going? And like you vent and he vents and kind of stuff like that. Eventually you get to a point, and obviously, like I said, you're probably gonna have to spend a little bit of money. So the person is like, okay, this is not just like a one-time, you can get so far on your first time. So, and I've gotten like pretty far on my first time, especially meeting people in person, wining, dining them, all that kind of stuff. You'll get to a certain point, but after spending money and doing business with a person regularly while nurturing that relationship, you'll be super surprised like how much you can push the envelope of like what's possible. And you know, and I still remember to this day, like when I worked in the new product development, it was like a massive, like it's a $30 billion company. And you know, there was like the few people, like where this guy called Bruce, right? And Bruce, you know, whenever you needed something and everyone would tell you no, no, it's impossible, you would go to Bruce. And then because Bruce had such good relationships with everyone, Bruce would go and say, hey man, like come on, like we really need this. And like there was like certain things, for example, like you had to sanitize. They have to go through like a tumbling cycle, and everyone knew the sanitization machines were so backed up, like weeks and weeks. And you go put in an order for your stuff to get sanitized, and you just wait. And Bruce would always like be able to sneak his way in, just because he had like he was like been with the company for like 25 years. Like I think he like got out of college and got in there. So and that's like the power of relationships. So I always understood like everything can be bent, especially when you have like really good relationships.